I'd come to Carrollton and she'd be sitting in the car. Yeah, that's probably. Of course, I knew her, but when I'd be in the restaurant or wherever it was, when I'd come out, she'd be sitting in the car. Too bad she's not here now. She'd have a lot to say about it.
That's right.
But anyway, that's how it happened. I'm not sure what inspired her to sit in the car, but that's where she'd be sitting, waiting sometimes around uptown and see my car there.
In Carrollton?
Yes, I was probably on a business trip, which is a big lie. But anyway, when I'd come out, she'd be sitting in the car smiling, and we'd talk, and that's the way we became acquainted. Henri or something, and she remembered. I wish she was here to explain this,
yeah.
But maybe that wouldn't be so good. As I look back now, probably the day we were married, the day each of our two children were born were very good days, but that would have never happened had it not been. So I would have to say the best day of my life was our marriage. Tiny little wedding, not very many people there. I think I was late showing up. I forgot the reason, but I thought of a good reason. I was late though that day, but I can't remember exactly what happened, but they held things up till I showed up. I was a pretty important part of it. Very important. Hotter than heck. But I'd say that we were there for probably 2 or 3 years. And I'd say that even as hot as it was up there in that upstairs apartment with a flat roof, and a long stairway coming down on the outside, an old steel stairway. I'd have to say that those were good years, even though it was probably only a couple of them. No air conditioner. The rent was $50 a month with the heat furnished, and the electricity was furnished. Both, they were all. See, it was upstairs above a body shop. The body shop, of course, that's a car repair, and they was hammering and beating around down there all day long. And I was trying to sleep, but I was working midnights. but we managed okay. Then we left that place and rented a little house that's still standing on 3rd Street. The rent went down there. It was only $40 a month, but no heat or electricity was furnished. They furnished it in the other one because it was all together with that body shop that was underneath. That was a terrible place to live above that body shop. Especially if you was working shift work. We lived there probably 3 or 4 years. Okay. We lived there and saved Carol's pay. Every dime she made went in the bank. We spent money. When we got to $7,100, I borrowed $3,000 from my dad, the only debt I've ever had in my life. That made $10,100, and we built this house that we're sitting in now for $10,100. And we had Dad's $3,000 paid back in short order with both of us working, so we really never had any debt.
Yeah.
When Carol was old enough, she went to work up there. Okay. See, that's so much different than this dial now. These girls would sit and you'd crank the phone wherever you were, and that would ring up in the office, and they'd listen. They'd tell you that they wanted number 441, and so you'd stick the jack in that slot and give that thing a crank from up at the switchboard. She liked it a lot, and the pay was good for those times. The pay was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a choice job.
Yeah.
It's sure different. It's an experience everybody needs to experience. But very enjoyable. Both of them were good babies, and those were good years. we'd bring Steve down here, and she helped with this house. We did an awful lot of this work ourselves, this interior work.
Okay.
Steve he'd be in that little room where the computer is now,
Uh-huh.
in a baby bed, and she and I would be working in here.
Okay.
Gary was bought, the cow,
Uh-huh.
was bought from a guy by the name of Mr. Garrison, and we named her Gary. And she was mine. Somehow she was my cow. And she'd follow me. Heck, I rode her like a pony. I'd go out in the pasture to get the cows, and she'd come to me and stand still while I got on her back and I rode her. She was really a pet.
Oh.
And that's what Gary was named after. Yeah, I'd get on her back, and she'd go around behind all the cows, and we'd run them all to the house. Sometimes that was across the road too, most of the time. I opened the gate, and she knew just what to do. That's kind of unique for a cow to be trained.
Yeah.
She was a good one. For a year.
Okay.
They weren't mine, but she was. I just feel sure, as much as she was a part of the family, that she was not sent to the processing plant for hamburger. I'm sure she died at home, but I'm not 100% positive of the details.
Uh-huh.
The television, that was a huge innovation, and they had one or two uptown, the first ones in town. Little black and white ones. There'd be so many people crowded around you couldn't see anything. I can't remember. I know it was a little teeny black and white one, our first one, and it was a really big deal. I can't remember the cost of it. I know it was a major decision to buy it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a huge milestone in our lives, was television. It probably began, I guess you'd have to say, when I was trapping mice for my dad in the corn crib for a penny each. And rats he paid me a nickel each. And it progressed from there to the dumber animals, the possums and the muskrats. They don't know much, so that we were on an equal plane. But I soon became very proficient at it. The more intelligent animals, the mink, the fox, and the coyotes, you can't make many mistakes and be successful. They're very intelligent. I suppose the thing that drove me to it, I was so poor, you know that, with an allowance of a nickel a week, that I tried to make extra money. So I'd have enough for ice cream and soda when I wanted it. So that's the way it began. And it developed into, oh gosh, it developed into quite a hobby that I enjoyed very much. Early on, I sold my fur to a local buyer here in Carrollton. I don't think he knew as much about it as I did at that time, and that wasn't much. But anyway, you took a pretty low price. But as I became better at what I was doing, I knew that they held a fur auction north of Springfield, Illinois, and it drew buyers from all over Illinois and the neighboring states. It was a big deal. So I took my fur there. I won several awards for the best handled fur at the auction. I was proud of the fur that I caught.